Hello, and welcome back to Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacqueline Closemore, and I'm live with you here today, and looking forward to speaking to you. So do feel free to phone in, to write in, to share the live link, and go into the queue for a reading and all that sort of stuff. We've got a lovely lineup of readers tonight. So I'm the first show of the evening, and you'll find us going right through for the next few hours. What's not to love about a number of hours of psychics? Unless they're all Geminis, in which case it's very likely the light bulbs will be exploding. But unfortunately today, my fellow Gemini and friend, Miss Shirley, is not quite well. So we're sending her love, light and healing out there in the stratosphere and back down to Frankston to her and her family who've all got a bit of a bug there. So thankfully it's not the Y2K bug and they'll be getting better soon, but we're sending you lots of love, light and healing in the meantime, and she'll be back joining us at a later stage. So in the meantime, we're going to get the show on the road today, and we're going to do some live readings, so you feel free to connect. And just remember, we can only do so many readings per show, so we do what we can in the time that we've got. What I'd probably start by talking about is the pushy energy that's been going on this week, like people like butting heads, right? And so although we've had the wonderful summer solstice Northern Hemisphere overnight, and we've got the winter solstice here in Australia yesterday, and it's a very big time energetically around the world, because in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, we've got that sort of longest day of the year. In the Southern Hemisphere, we've got the shortest day of the year. So the winter solstice in the Southern Hemisphere is really about, when we look at the winter solstice, it's like, okay, well, that was the longest of winter, and that's the longest of, like, the coldness, and although the days have been getting shorter and shorter and shorter, now that we've gotten to that winter solstice, the days are going to start getting longer. So, heading into more that spring and later on summer. And so also for the Northern Hemisphere, that summer solstice, well, that's the longest day, and it's leading into, the going towards the end of summer, going into autumn and so on. So it's just the changing cycles of the seasons, and all the energies to do with that. So when we look at the winter solstice in the Southern Hemisphere, what we're really dealing with is owning your own shadow, looking at those things which you've held as desires or wants or been contemplating for a very long time, and you really kind of look at those over the winter, and you sort of say, all right, well, what of that do I want to take forward? Also, it's like if we sort of look at the owning the shadow sort of period, and that winter solstice, it's like the seed buried beneath the earth, the dormant sort of winter time, and then once the spring comes around, of course, the seed then becomes a seedling, and it breaks the surface with its leaves, and here I am, I'm a plant. So it's sort of the winter solstice speaks of the fertility possible and the growth possible, and the greatest light can often be found in that space under the ground, although that's dark under there, because the seed is the light. So it's the seed from which life springs forward once it's really taken hold, and off and away it goes. So that's sort of the winter symbol. Often how that was celebrated, and if we sort of look at Yule, when you're dealing with that winter solstice, you're also dealing with that sense of gift-giving and celebration, but it was often seen as you make something over the winter that's very special to you and have a story about, and you give that to one person and they then give you something also, sort of exchanging of gifts, rather than this massive ho, ho, ho commercialisation that we see at Christmas time. But so when we look at it that way, you sort of see the gifts in that, and you see the the energy in that, and the possibilities and potentials. So yeah, the winter, it's sitting by the fire, it's looking at, okay, well, these are the things that warm my heart, maybe not just a fire, but also here are the ideas, the concepts I want to move forward with, and here are the things I'm going to leave behind. So things that you decide on a winter solstice can be actually quite strong. And for the Northern Hemisphere, who you are having your summer solstice, this is a celebration of the harvest. So it's all the abundance of like the fruits and all the things that have come to life and that we've made full use of. And it's like it's at its full zenith. And and so that's what we celebrate there, the absolute abundance of things. So it's kind of weird, actually, in a way, to celebrate Christmas in summer in Australia because you've got that. Hang on a minute. Hang on, isn't this gift giving supposed to be like a really deep inner thing? No, let's just celebrate the abundance. All right then. So it's even weirder when Australians celebrate Christmas with like really warm jumpers on and oh look, here's my Christmas jumper, or they have celebratory things to do with snow. But it's like if you guys in America celebrated Christmas in July, and preferably in a really warm part of America, and then it would kind of make sense as to how weird it is in Australia when we celebrate Christmas in December. But in any case, we have a caller, Faith in Melbourne, who, and she's in Florida, not Melbourne, Australia. There are many Melbournes apparently. Are you there, Faith? Hello and welcome to the show, and thank you so much for calling in. It's lovely to speak with you. If I can have your date of birth, I can go into a reading for you.
I'm sorry, you asked for my date of birth?
Yes, if I can, that'd be really great.
Yes, June 1st, 1959.
Beautiful, soul sister. I am also a 1st June child, so this is actually quite hilarious. Thank you so much. There certainly are. And aren't we an interesting lot? I was talking about Geminis at the very start, and as you would relate, if you have 4 Geminis in the same room, you sort of have to watch the light globes because they might blow. With you, very upstanding, strong energy. What you say is what you mean, and what you mean is what you say. You do know how to be diplomatic and to hold things back, and sometimes you've really had to hold your tongue and really hold back and just go, okay, if I say something right now, they're never going to talk to me again, and maybe that's what they need to hear, but maybe I don't need to have the pain of them remembering me for it. There's a directness, a very caring, loving energy, a forthrightness, a don't muck me around kind of energy as well. You're also year of the Earth Pig in the Chinese astrology, and so with Earth Pig energy, you'll be coming into your return of both element and animal actually next year in 2019 when it will be the Earth Pig again. When it comes back round to being your same animal and element, what we find is that it's a full return of all the energies. You get to look at the journey you've taken out into life and then as you're coming back. So it's like the return of that full circle, which is really interesting that you're calling today as we're dealing with both the summer solstice and the winter solstice, which talks about that solar return journey. Mm-hmm. So you're having the reading right on that solstice energy. So it's quite intriguing in that way. People really see that you're very supportive and very able to give them grounded, practical advice and guidance, and that if you're saying something to them, it's not to make them feel good for the sake of feeling good or bad for the sake of feeling bad. It's really about helping them in the most direct manner possible and with honesty and integrity. That's how I sort of see this with you, and something as being very important to the way you operate. It's like the integrity's really got to be there, or you're just not interested. This year also is a 9 year for you in the numerology, if you want to look at it that way. And so I do feel a lot of wrapping things up and looking at what we want to leave behind and what we've had more than enough of. Thank you very much. A lot of those things around you at the moment. Yeah, and really being interested in stepping forward. But the question you wanted to ask today
is my husband has stage 4 colon cancer, and the only thing he can have is chemo because it's advanced, and he wants to fight it and take the treatments and do everything he's supposed to do to try to stay alive as long as possible, and I don't know what the future holds. I mean, I don't know if there's any time left.
Yeah, no, we've got time, my dear. We make the time. And I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm really sending a lot of love out to you and also your husband. I really feel, for some reason, I've really got the medical marijuana in my head, and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm not a doctor, and I can't give medical advice, but I feel the thing is, it's about making him feel as comfortable as possible and doing what we can with that. And I really understand and appreciate that he wants to fight. I don't think he's ever really quitted or quit things. You know, he's not a quitter. He's someone who stands up for what's sort of important, what's real, what's right. And I do think that at times in life he's certainly gotten quite angry with a couple of people there and really remembered it. He has an elephant's memory of things that have happened, whether they be good or bad, but he learns from them. But at the same time, when we come to this issue, it really does feel that, you know, this is a very important part of his journey for him in the way he wants to approach it. But I understand how that is really not at all easy for you, and the pressure you can feel on you around. You know, it's just immense.
I'm bipolar, and I've gone down into the depths. So
you
trying to keep myself together and take care of him has been a challenge. I'm doing it, but it's been a challenge.
I think I really have to give you, there's not enough gold stars in the world to give you for that, because I can really appreciate how hard that's been for you, because of how you do really take in the full energy of things, from the high highs to low lows, and not just your own. You actually get that from other people. So you can really experience other people's feelings as well as if they're your own, and that compounds what you're feeling, if that makes sense. And so when you're watching him going through this, it's just taking you through that, the battle. But in a way, this also feels like part of your journey, dealing with your own wellness. It's going to be really important to seek outside support as much as you need. You're going to definitely need respite when you need to do that. You're going to need to do that to help yourself with this. I actually feel that you're going to come through this, and strangely enough, I actually feel you will gain strength through this experience, rather than come out of it the other end, with nothing, which is what you fear, this feeling of, there's nothing in the tank left, I've got no energy, what am I going to do? I actually feel, although obviously it's going to be tiring, and obviously you're going to feel quite the need to rest, later on, when things become final, then I just feel that you will be able to step back after that and be able to breathe and go, wow, this is a very big journey for me as well, not just him. And I do feel you'll be able to find that peace and calm as well for you. I feel that you will be able to step forward in a relatively graceful manner in time to come. There's creative pursuits that I can see you taking up that will give you a different focus, much later on, that help to actually give you a different meaning to things, not just a different focus, but a different meaning to things from this. And when we sit back from this journey in the next decade, and we really sit back from this journey, you'll be able to see the beauty of it. I actually feel that there's a great deal that you'll be able to contribute, while this entire journey will contribute to your journey, your soul journey, and your sense of understanding of your place in the world, your sense of spirit, your sense of connection to spirit, your sense of calm and peace in your life, and joy. There's a fullness in your life at that point that has been very hard to achieve, not just now, but over the last 20-odd years. It's been a real up and down roller coaster ride, which you'll notice has gradually been getting less roller coaster-like and more kind of leveling, more like ripples rather than tsunamis, And when we go further in time, you're able to look back at this period and go, gee, those waves were pretty big compared to now. So the waves you're in now, although there's a lot going on in the physical world here and with your husband, your waves are a lot less tumultuous than what they were when you were much younger. You're able to navigate this much better. And so as I said, when I look forward and I stand in that position all those years ahead and I look back to now, it's much more calm, actually. It's not, this is not the end, it's the very beginning. And I think the thing is we have to honour the journey that both of you are going through together. You have become stronger together, the two of you, but you are also, in the end, strengthened yourself. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, because I lost my first husband after we were married 6 months when I was 24 years old.
Yep.
So it was an accident. He died in an accident, and we had just found out I was pregnant, and then he died, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh God, yes. And that's part of that real roller coaster and tsunami, the absolute, shock waves in your life. But as we're going along, those shock waves are actually becoming a lot less, and certainly, they're much bigger shock waves than other people have had to go through. But I really do feel there's great wisdom through the course of this entire journey. There's great wisdom you're able to draw upon, great resources you're able to draw upon, but also then share with others later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think the thing is with your husband, you really have to sort of do what you can to make both of your journeys just that little bit easier, just that little bit more calm, that little bit more comfortable. And I would really urge you at the moment to you plan ahead, but you take literally one day at a time. You can't push for things that you're just not sort of ready to deal with right at this moment. Just take this one step at a time and one day at a time. And even if it's one moment at the time, and keep your your expectations, keep them really kind of neutral and calm. That will also help a great deal because we sort of can't get too far ahead of ourselves here. Because if we do, it really does just cloud you and confuse you. Because if you're living in the what if, what will be, and going too far in that direction, I actually feel that'll increase your anxiety. I don't know whether you've already noticed that sort of thing with you in the recent past. When you're thinking too much of the future, you're like, oh my God, and it's really, it really sort of starts stressing you out and confusing you, and then you're just not functioning properly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's hard to function, period. But, I don't have a choice.
No, you don't, and I really feel for you because this is not easy. But it's all the more reason you have to really stay in the present with what you've got, and yes, distract from the present as well. So if that means we go off and we do something fun, do something creative, do something relaxing, just chill out, veg out, watch some trash TV, go out into nature, whatever it takes, that can also be a moment, and that's going to be an important moment as well. So each moment can be quite important. Just don't rush ahead to, where it's going to go just at this point in time, because I think, as I said, I just think that's going to just cause you anxiety because we're not there yet, because this hasn't happened yet, because that hasn't happened yet, and will it, won't it, how will it be? The other thing as well is you need to avoid brooding on the past, the could-ofs, would-ofs, should-ofs, haven't. And could I, yeah, exactly. Could I have done this differently? Should I have done that differently? What if that had have happened? Trying to change the story. That's kind of a bargaining that's going on here that I feel like you've been going through as well. Once again, completely understandable, but you sort of need to not be there either, because once again, that gets you going round in a spiral, and then you're stuck in that sort of pattern. It's like, oh my God, what do I do now? Yeah, so this is why we've got to just keep in. Yeah, got to keep you in the moment, and then if the moment's just you need a break from the moment, you go and do other stuff, and then come back to the moment. That's your best way. And I do feel that people will be coming around to help you, and certainly to support you through this. So I hope that helps you. Feel free to get in touch if you need to. You can find on Facebook Soul Star Radio with Jacqueline if you're looking for me. But I really do send you all of my love, Faith, and also to your husband. And I'll be sending healing to you after the show if that's okay.
Okay.
You're very welcome, darling. Absolutely. absolute pleasure. And that was Faith from Melbourne, Florida. So we're sending, if we all just send a thought of healing, love and light to her in what is an immense journey and has been an immense life, actually. So we're sending you all of our love there and our very best wishes, which doesn't really even cover it. But at this point in time, until I can get that candle lit for the rest of this day, that was what we're going to do. Now we're going to release that energy. And so what do you do when you're in, a reading session and someone has something really big that's going on? Well, you really have to be prepared to listen. And yes, there's a lot of talking as well, but sometimes it's a matter of saying, how can I help? Particularly they've walked through the door, how can I help? Sometimes it's a case of also simply going into what will help. Other times it's just that case of just being open to the conversation. But, the important thing is to ensure that people feel that you're there for them, and that you are there for them in that moment, but also sending them love afterwards. So sometimes that can really affect you if you're very empathic. The important thing to do is to clear your energy afterwards before you go and see someone else when that sort of thing's happening. Now I'm going to get on to that next caller. We have Relia in Illinois, USA. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello. Now, can I get you to say your name correctly, just so I make sure I've got that right?
Yes, it's Relia.
Relia, yeah, beautiful name. Just that real E, sound in it. It's all that 5 energy, because E is actually 5 in numerology, and so that's really, let's get moving. Don't have time for that. Come on, let's go. So you'll often find yourself, I think, on the go, and it's like, people expect so much from you. It's probably because you can do so much, and also the old saying is, give the busiest person in the office the job to do, and they'll do it. Because sure as heck, if you give it to the person who's not busy at all, they ain't doing nothing. So you're always doing something, I do feel, and sometimes you're needing to catch a breath for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today, darling?
I was just kind of curious about my general overall life, but I was kind of curious more concerning my love life.
Oh, that feels quite up and down and all over the place, and I feel like you're still sorting out where you're going, what you're doing, what you want, and where we're going to go now. It's interesting because we were just talking about how busy you are all the time, and it's like, oh, look, Ace of Cups. Oh, love your work. Okay, great. So you may find work a whole lot easier to deal with than love in some ways here, but I do feel as if you're still sorting out what you really want when it comes to love. And so I do feel that there's a rebirth going on in love, because anything's better than staying in the past there, I can tell you. But I do feel as if there's a rebirth going on there. And this we don't talk about rebirth. It's like, okay, the energy's coming back in, and it's like you're going to be able to have someone here, I'm told, that you can count on, which is kind of rather necessary, look, in most cases, but certainly it's something you're really needing. And I think the thing is that you're very dependable, reliable, all these sorts of things, but whether it means that there has been a difficulty relying on someone else. So to me, it sort of speaks about you being able to rely on someone in the near future that's actually going to be much more suitable to you. And that's what I'm sort of picking up there.